Okay guys, welcome back to the channel, and a massive thank you to Games Workshop for very kindly sending us the Codex Imperial Fists supplement to review. I like this Imperial Fist book a lot. I know certain people on YouTube are going to be absolutely over the moon with this book, and hopefully you guys are happy with it too. After the nerfs to the Iron Hands, I think this is a decent contender to be one of the better supplements, along with the Ultramarines. So there's loads and loads of cool stuff in here, and if you go against a lot of vehicles, or if you like using a lot of bolters, this book is going to be phenomenal for you. So let us have a look through it. Now, all the new characters, I say all the new characters, Torgaradon is in here, of course, but Centurions, great, and they're going to be very good, I think, against a lot of vehicles, which we will get to in a few moments. But as with all the other supplements, we've got the structure of the entire chapter, details of each of the companies, along with the markings and who are included in it. You've got details of the armory, and of course the history. You've also got Crimson Fists. What you do not have is the Black Templars. There is, from what I can see, no mention of the Black Templars in this book, which leads me to think that they might be getting something later on, hopefully. So of course we've got details of the Crimson Fists there as well. We've got Torgaradon's background and fluff, Darth Lysander and Pedro Cantor. They missed an opportunity, mind, with Pedro Cantor about making him Primaris. They really should have. But there's the Torgaradon model. Very, very cool model indeed. And you can see some examples of the Imperial Fist upgrade kit. I know the upgrade kit was available briefly in the Christmas boxes last year, but obviously you can see more of them now. Execution, repulsors in general in this book are going to be very, very good. Got a couple of the successor chapters, and of course an overlay of the entire army. But what you guys want, the meat and bones of the army. So, exemplars of Dawn's Legacy. We've got Captain Lysander is 130, Pedro Cantor is 150, and Torgaradon is only 140 points. So Lysander, not much has changed from what I can see. He can still deploy in. He's still got Icon of Abstinence, Right to Battle to reroll ones. He's got his Storm Shield, and of course he's got his Thunderhammer. Wow, his Thunderhammer's +6 strength, -3 damage with no penalty hit. That's really good. I like that. Torgaradon, however, Hand of Defiance, ×3 strength. That is absolutely nuts. That's absolutely nuts. Of course, he's got Right to Battle. He's got Signal Array, so you can select the unit to have a ballistic skill of 2+. Actually, hang on. So at the start of your shooting phase, you can select one friendly Imperial Fist unit that is within 3 inches of this model. Models in the selected unit have a ballistic skill of 2+ instead. So you know that wounded repulsor that's on ballistic skill 5+. You just use that and go, you now hit on 2s. Which is very good. Siege Captain, when resolving an attack made by this model against a vehicle or building, add 1 to the damage characteristic. So he gets +1 damage against vehicles anyway. And then of course we've got Pedro Cantor as well. You gotta love him. Sentinels of Teredor. This is brilliant. So, as long as every unit in your army is an Imperial Fist unit, then you can get Legacy of Dawn, which is, whilst the Devastator Doctrine is active, when resolving an attack made with a heavy weapon by a model with this ability against a vehicle or building, add 1 to the damage characteristic of that weapon for that attack. That is phenomenal. Now, buildings, yes, maybe not. I think Games Workshop needs to look into buildings in general. However, I think the +1 damage against vehicles, for example, Eldar Flyers, Imperial Knights, Lehman Russ, you know, maybe some Iron Hands Dreadnoughts. You get the idea. +1 damage is absolutely brutal against some of the stuff that's out there at the minute. It's just so... It's 2 damage heavy onslaught Gatling cannons from Redemptor Dreadnoughts. It's 3 damage Stalker bolt guns. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's going to work in here. So, of course, you do get your Doctrines, your Chapter Relics, and your Stratagems and everything. And we're going to have a quick look through those. So, the Warlord Traits. There's 3 for Crimson Fists, which is... it's fair. And we've got 6 for Imperial Fists. So Captain Lysander has Indomitable. When resolving an attack made against this Warlord, an unmodified wound roll of a 1, 2, or 3 always fails. Okay. Tolgaridon has Siege Master. Add 1 to the wound roll. So he's swinging, right, at strength 12, and you get +1 to the wound roll. And then you're getting +1 damage against the vehicle. Now, cast Might of Heroes on him. That makes him strength 15 with +1 to wound. That's brutal. And Pedric Cantor has Stoic Defender. Friendly Crimson Fist units have the Defenders of Humanity ability that are within 6 of the Warlord. If such a unit already has that ability, each model in that unit counts as 2. That's obviously very, very fluffy to go against Orcs. But the other Warlord traits, Fleetmaster, basically you get to make an orbital bombardment free. That's pretty decent. Stubborn Heroism, the Warlord cannot fall back. However, when resolving an attack against this Warlord, half any damage that is inflicted, rounding up. It's pretty decent. Architect of War, when resolving an attack against an Imperial Fist unit within 6 inches of the Warlord with a weapon that has an armor penetration characteristic of -1, if the unit is receiving the benefit of cover, add an additional 1 to the saving throw. So basically, if you're in cover and you're within 6 inches of your Warlord, you get +1, -1 for that, but then you get an additional +1 for being in cover, so you still get your cover save and you just negate the -1. It's pretty decent if you're going to castle up. And then we've got Hand of Dawn, get an extra D3 command points. Brilliant. So there's a couple of things that I would actually do with some of the stratagems later, and I'm going to point this out while I'm here now. There is a stratagem to give your Warlord an extra Warlord trait, right? So what you do is you give him Fleetmaster to get the free orbital bombardment, or you give him Architect of War, whichever one. They're the 2 that I prefer. And then you go, right, I'm going to spend 1 command point to give him Hand of Dawn as well, to potentially get 2 more than what you started with. So that's the way I would go. So, Relics of the Fists. Eye of Hypnoth. This one was in the Vigilance book previously, but essentially it turns the holder into a lieutenant. So again, what I would do is I would turn your captain into a chapter master for 2 CP, and then give him the Eye of Hypnoth. So he's a chapter master and lieutenant in one. He basically becomes Guilliman without the punch, but you get the idea. The Banner of Stagander. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by an Imperial Fist unit that is within 6 of this, add 1 to the hit roll. That's pretty good. The Spartan is the bolt pistol. Pistol 2, strength 4, -3, 2 damage. You can target a character. Pretty decent. The Bones of Osrak, Imperial Fist Librarian only. When a psychic test is taken from a model with this relic is attempting to manifest a psychic power from Geokinesis, you can re-roll the result. So it doesn't even have to fail, you can just re-roll it. Duty's Burden is a Crimson Fist relic. It's a Mastercrafted Auto Bolt Rifle or Mastercrafted Stalker Bolt Rifle only. So it's Rapid 2, Strength 5, -2, 2 damage. It's okay. And then the Fist of Vengeance is a Power Fist only, Strength ×2, -3, 3 damage, no penalty to hit. You then got your special issue war gear, which is for all of your successor chapters. There is also a stratagem to give a sergeant in a squad one of these as well. And again, this is what Jake did, and I think it can work quite well. Considering you're probably going to be running Stalker Bolters in your intercessor squads as part of your Imperial Fist army. You know, because not only are the heavy weapons, they're also a bolt weapon, so you get an extra hits on a 6 as well. You can hide something in a squad of 10 intercessors here, and the one that I would actually go for is Mastercrafted Weapon. So when you give a model with this relic, select one weapon that the model is equipped with, add one to the damage characteristic of that weapon. The weapon is considered to be a chapter relic. So he suddenly has a 3 damage Stalker bolt rifle, right? 4 damage against vehicles. That's very good. There's another reason why you do that, and there's another stratagem which we'll talk about in a little while. Artificer Army, you can give somebody a 2-up, 5-up. Adamantine Mantle, you can give somebody a 5-up, feel no pain. Digital weapons, you can score mortal wound if you hit with the weapon. Fists of Terra, Power Fist only, strength times 2, -3, D3 damage. You get to make 1 additional attack, but you don't suffer the penalty as well. Gatebreaker Bolts. This one's a bit of a mouthful, but basically, if you can only make 1 shot. If you hit, you can then make D3 to wound rolls, and each of those has -5 AP and 1 damage. It's okay. It's more, I think, for dealing with hordes. Auric Aquila, you can give somebody a 4-up invulnerable save. However, if you lose a mortal wound as a result of a psychic phase, you can ignore that on a 5-up. And Warden's Cuirass, you can get +1 wound on your model. It's pretty okay. So the stratagems, this is the meat and bones of the force. There's a lot of cool stratagems here that I like, which you can double up with the normal Space Marine ones, of course. So we've got Bitter Enmity. Use this stratagem in the fight phase, and basically you can reroll hit and wounds against Iron Warriors. That's 1 CP. 1 CP, we've got Bolster Defenses. So use this stratagem at the start of your moving phase, select an Imperial Fist infantry unit. As long as they're within the terrain feature, you can add an additional 1 to the saving throw. Invulnerables are not affected, so that's pretty good. Sappers, use this stratagem in your shooting phase or fight phase when an Imperial Fist unit from your army is chosen to shoot or fight. Until the end of the phase, when resolving an attack made by a model against a building, add 1 to the hit and 1 to the wound rolls. Nobody takes buildings. I wish they did, but... Pain is a lesson. Use this stratagem in any phase when an Imperial Fist unit from your army that is not a vehicle or servitor is chosen as the target of an enemy attack. Until the end of that phase, when the model in that unit would lose a wound, roll a d6 and on a 6 wound is not lost. That is 1 CP to give an infantry unit feel no pain. That's fantastic. I was going to say something about Invictus Warsuits, but it wouldn't work. Close range bolt of fire. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase when a fist unit from your army is chosen to shoot. Until the end of that phase, bolt weapons have the pistol type instead of the normal type. Rapid 2, for example, becomes pistol 2. Now, remember those Stalker bolters I mentioned earlier? If you get locked in combat, right, you can suddenly fire your Stalker bolters as though they're pistols. So not only are they -2 standard, they're -3 because of the Devastator doctrine that you're probably going to have in effect, and 2 damage, and your sergeants might be 3 if you've took Mastercrafted. So that is pretty good. It's 2 CP, it's expensive, but I think that can get you out of the combat much easier. You've got Bolter Drill, which does stack with the Imperial Fist Doctrine, so you can pay 2 CP, and every 6 that you roll to hit essentially generates 2 extra hits, which is pretty good. Depending on what you're doing, that could be very, very good. If you've got Weight of Fire, and obviously your normal 6s are doing a lot of attacks, and then you can do that again. Imagine that on a 10-man unit of assault bolters. Like, if you're going against hordes, that means you've got 3 attacks per guy, so 30 shots for a 10-man unit. You're probably going to get 4, 5, 6s out of that, which will actually generate an extra 8 to 10 hits. It's pretty good, bro. For 2 CP, you want to use that on the biggest squads that you've got. We've got Stubborn Defense, 2 CP. Use this stratagem at the start of the battle. If an Imperial Fist Warlord from your army is on the battlefield, until the end of the battle, you cannot discard Storm and Defend objectives. But when you achieve one, you score 1 additional victory point. You can only use this stratagem if the mission you are playing uses tactical objectives. It's 2 CP. If you're using Refined Stratagem, there's still a fair chance you're not even going to pull any of them out. We've got Tank Hunters, 2 CP. In the shooting or fight phase, select an Imperial Fist unit from your army. Select 1 enemy vehicle unit, and until the end of that phase, when resolving an attack made by a model in that Imperial Fist unit against the selected unit, add 1 to your wound rolls. It's 2 CP, but again, you know, if you're adding 1 to your wound rolls, that's not bad. So, you know, Stalker Bolters, wound and toughness 7 tanks on 4s. And then each one would be doing flat 3 damage at -3. It's a decent shout. Again, I feel that running multiple large squads of intercessors is going to be quite good. That could also work quite well on Centurions, for example. However, it's just an Imperial Fist unit. So, how about that Repulsor Executioner, eh? Yep. Give him +1 to wound. It is pretty brutal. Yeah, pretty brutal. Champions of the Blades. Basically, use this stratagem after nominating a model from an Imperial Fist successor chapter to be a Warlord. You can give him a specific relic from the Imperial Fist side of things instead. So that's okay. Sentinel of Terra. Use a stratagem after nominating an Imperial Fist character that is not a named character to be your Warlord. You can generate 1 additional Warlord trait for them. And this must be from the Imperial Fist's Warlord trait and must be different. So that's the 1 CP. There's no reason at all not to spend that, right? And then take the 1 to roll D3 and get D3 extra command points. You're not losing anything at all. You could gain 1 or 2 extra CP. We've got Clearance Protocols. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase when an Imperial Fist unit from your army is chosen to shoot. Up to 10 models in that unit can chuck grenades, basically. It's okay. Praetorian's Wrath. Use this stratagem at the start of your movement phase if the Devastator Doctrine is active, until the start of your next movement phase when resolving an attack made with a heavy or grenade weapon by an Imperial Fist model from your army. An unmodified wound roll of a 6. The armor penetration characteristic of that weapon is improved by an additional 1 for that attack. You can only use this stratagem once per battle. It's okay. You want to use it on something that's got a lot of firepower, so again, probably a repulsor, because the extra -1 on 6s to wound is kind of helpful, but at 2 CP, that's quite expensive. And it is model, not unit. So it depends on what you are firing against, and it depends on what you've got in your force. Gift of the Phalanx, you can give a sergeant a relic, basically. That's 1 CP. 2 CP, the Shield of Unwavering. Use this stratagem at the end of your turn. Select an Imperial Fist infantry unit that is within 3 of an objective marker. Until the start of your next turn, add 1 to the attack characteristic of the models and add 1 to the saving throw. But you use it at the end of your turn if you're on an objective. So it kind of shows like, yeah, we've taken this objective, try and take it from us now. It says add 1 to the saving throw. So if that objective is in cover, you get the +1 cover, you get the +1 for that, and you get the extra attacks if you're charged. In addition, you would also get Shock Assault. That means your intercessors have got 4 attacks each. That's pretty decent. That's pretty decent. You've got 2 Crimson Fist ones. Slay the Tyrant. When a Crimson Fist unit is chosen to shoot or fight, until the end of that phase, when resolving an attack made by a model in that unit against a character, add 1 to the hit roll. And here at 4, 1 CP. When you're chosen, choose a Fist unit to shoot or fight until the end of the phase, when resolving an attack made by a model in that unit against an Orc unit, you can reroll the wounds. It's okay. We've got the Geokinesis Discipline as well. Tectonic Purge has a casting value of 6. When a charge roll is made for any enemy unit that is within 12 inches of the Psyker, subtract 2 from the result. It's good, but 12 is very short, and you probably don't want your Psyker that close. Rack and Ruin is a casting value of 6. Select one building unit within 18 and visible to the Psyker, or select one enemy unit that is wholly within or on a terrain feature and within 18 and visible to the Psyker. Roll 9d6, adding 1 to the result if the unit you selected was a building, and for each roll of a 5, the unit suffers a mortal wound. That's okay. You might get sort of 3 or 4. Iron Inferno has a warp charge of 6. If manifested, select a point on the battlefield within 18 and roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within 6 inches of that point. That unit suffers 1 mortal wound on a 4+. So it's kind of a mini bombardment. It's okay. We've got Fortify, has a warp charge of 4. Select one Imperial Fist Infantry or Imperial Fist Biker unit and regain D3 lost wounds. Infantry or Biker. So infantry are, I don't know if Centurions are infantry because Blood Angels can't use them, but you know, that might be handy. Aspect of Stone has a casting value of 5. If manifested, then until the start of your next psychic phase, add 2 to the psychic strength and toughness. It's okay. And Chasm has a casting value of 6. If manifested, select one enemy unit that cannot fly within 18. Roll 2d6, and if the result is less than the lowest move characteristic in the unit, they suffer 1 mortal wound. If the result equals the lowest move characteristic, then the unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. If the result is greater than the lowest move, then they suffer 3 mortal wounds. So that's actually pretty decent against non-flyers. And that is the Imperial Fist book, guys. I think some of the stratagems are very good. The Tank Hunters, the Praetorian's Wrath are very, very good. I think you can build a very, very defensive army. You know, with the Shield and Wavering, you can get intercessors on objectives. In particular, if you do Assault Bolters with them, combine that with the Bolter Drill, which means you're getting 2 additional hits on a 6. And of course, don't forget, guys, if you haven't watched the battle report already, you can snipe with a unit of intercessors. And I will leave it at that. But I think this is a pretty decent boot, guys. I am very impressed with this one. It's very fluffy. It's got teeth. I don't think it's the top tier one, but it certainly holds its own. And it's very, very fun to use and play with. So, thank you very much for watching, guys. Make sure you go and check out the battle report, and we'll see you again very soon.